Users of Reddit, what made you go? Wow, this person is an absolute psycho. In 1995 I was dating a 30-year-old man. One weekend, he went to Washington, D.C., and when he returned and was telling me about his trip, he said he got a book on UFOs and kept it on his bedside table in D.C. so the Secret Service would know he's a believer. He then became rather frenetic telling me how he left a trail for the Secret Service to follow, that snakes and spiders read our brains through computers, talking to his left hand because an existential entity had entered his body, etc. Full-blown psychosis, and ended up being diagnosed a paranoid schizophrenic. I cannot describe the cold feeling I had watching this man I knew become someone else. My ex-boyfriend of 4 months is still stalking me 8 months after the breakup. He's tried to get me on a 72-hour hold, he's called my therapist's office, he came and hand-delivered a letter to my house, amongst other things. I had to file a harassment complaint with the sheriff which made him back off in some aspects, but he's still pretty active in trying to get my info, etc., online. And I don't have enough for a restraining order, so I just have to deal with it. All of this after what I thought was an amicable breakup. I'm still dealing with him trying to Facebook friend the most fringe people in my life, such as my massage therapist, because all of my actual friends know better than to talk to him. Luckily I've since moved and changed jobs, so he has no idea where I am. I went on a date with this girl some years back. The date itself was very nice, we got dinner together, talked about this and that, and spent most of the day together. I fully planned on seeing her again. She went to drop me off, I thanked her for the date, said I'd like to see her again, and started to get out of the car. And then she started to get out of the car. And I was like, okay. I guess you can meet my sister and brother-in-law, who I was staying with at the time. Well, we all have a nice chat, they say their goodbyes, and then she turns to me and asks if I want to watch a movie in my room. It's past 11 p.m, I'm tired, but I figure, what's the harm in a movie? I almost fall asleep a couple times during the movie but resist, since I don't even really know this person. Finally, credits are rolling, I'm standing up to imply that this has gotta end. I ask to walk her to her car, she puts on some whiny voice asking if she can just sleep over. I put my foot down and say I feel uncomfortable with this on the first date. She finally gets the hell out of my apartment. But it's not over. She says something about sleeping in her car in front of the complex because it's too late to drive, then fucking leave earlier? But I say that I'd rather know she gets home safe. She drives off, I try to go to sleep. About 3 a.m, she calls me, about some guy that's at the pump at the same time as her, and she's scared. I say okay, I'll stay on the phone until you're on the road and safe again. Whatever. She takes off again, I fall back asleep. She calls again, at 3:30 or so. Crying about wrecking her car which actually turned out to be her slightly hitting the median. I even hear some trucker asking her to just get the hell off the road. I'm so fed up at this point and I've lost all interest, but I talk her through getting back in the car and finishing the trip. The next day she tells me how excited her dad is about finally making a friend, and that meeting me is keeping her from killing herself, and all kinds of wackadoodle shit like that. At that point I just blocked her. No idea where she is now, but as long as she's not in my life, that's fine. Had a friend in middle school, we would text/message on MySpace throughout the night talking about how we were vampires and all the vampire stuff we were getting into, peak Twilight era. One day she came to school, legitimately angry at me because I had been lying about being a vampire. I remember looking at her and being like, yeah. We're like, role-playing, obviously. What do you mean? And she went on a full spill about how she was not role-playing and I was a lying loser idiot who tricked her and she was a real vampire, damn it. I just remember backing away slowly and thinking, this bitch is crazy. Listen, like 15 years later I can confirm, she was and is crazy as hell. I knew a girl in high school who claimed to be a real vampire and to crave blood. I was so pissed off by that. She was smart, cool, funny, she didn't need to bullshit for attention. I called her bluff and cut my hand slightly. She did drink a bit of my blood though, so props to her for staying in character. For some reason it healed with a scar, so I have a tiny 1/4-inch line on my arm to remind me of that incident. She had been dressing like me and styling/coloring her hair to be like mine for months. The final straw, the moment I realized she wasn't okay, was when she pulled me aside to tell me that she doesn't like my other friends calling me their friend, and I quote, because you're mine. Nope. After the friendship ended she took to cyberbullying me and started dressing like her new friend. Big yikes. My egg donor did something like that to me. When I was a child I wanted to color my hair blue. Well, she told me that I'd look horrible, trashy, all these insults. I didn't care about her opinion, so I went ahead and colored my hair how I wanted to and loved it. I was so happy, yet here comes egg donor to try and make me feel like shit about myself. Fast forward a few weeks and she goes to buy chalk and colors her hair with that and is so excited and happy that she has pink in her hair now. I have so many stories like that too. It's insane having a psychopath as a parent. Worked for a staging company that built truss grids for concerts. About 500 steel pins of the wrong size got sent to us. These things were about £1 each with a pointed tip. One of the techs filled a big gulp cup with them and kept it in the center console of his car to throw them at other vehicles if they pissed him off. At highway speeds they easily could have been lethal. Those pins would be lethal. After I wrote this I did the math. It's essentially a 7,000 grain bullet doing around 88 feet per second. That works out to something like 126 foot-pounds of kinetic energy or 163 joules if it hits a stationary target head-on. Head injuries involving force as low as 135 joules are often fatal. So it's definitely in the ballpark. Mitigating factors such as the forward motion of the car it's being thrown from onto a following vehicle would make it less dangerous, but it's still pretty ugly. I knew a girl who had HPV or some sort of STD, and she'd fuck guys and not tell them she had it, no condom, and then would put the blame on the guy for not checking with her. It's their responsibility to ask if they need to wear a condom. Pretty sure that's beyond psycho, that's a criminal offense. Yeah, she's a CPS worker too, gives you the clap, takes away your kids. This is basically how I got HPV. My high school sweetheart cheated and fucked the town whore. Snagging already taken guys was her specialty. She convinced all of the somebody else's boyfriends she slept with that HPV, and other STIs, can't be spread from a woman to a man, only vice versa. This all came to a head when she started spreading something worse than HPV, herpes I think? The police wouldn't get involved. There was talk of filing a lawsuit, but the only thing that would get everybody was lots of legal fees. She got shunned though and eventually had to switch colleges and move away. My ex-boyfriend bit his own arm till he was bleeding mid-argument talking about, "You made me do this." No sir, I was just trying to get my point across, then you decided to do that. Yeah, I know a woman, who in her current 30s, smashed a glass on a counter and cut her hands up with it by running them through the broken glass on the counter, but she relayed to me, in confidence, that her partner she was arguing with at the time was responsible. That he indeed made her do it. I found out my ex cheated on me, again, and he threatened to kill himself. He staged a whole scene with a knife and bottle of pills and shut himself in a room. When I finally got in there he told me to call 911 and when they picked up, he suddenly told me to hang up. When I asked why he completely shut the whole thing off and went completely straight-faced and calm and told me he was just trying to manipulate me. Knife, and pills? Yeah, he said to call 911 because he swallowed a bunch but he lied. Please tell me you dumped him immediately. There's no way I would have felt comfortable in the same room with him after that. Unfortunately no. But I completely cut off contact with him 6 years ago because he lied so much about everything I couldn't trust a word he said anymore. I guess him and his main side hoe are married now. He was constantly crying to me about how crazy she is, but who knows? This dude lives in a house with his wife, and the nanny and the kids, and the in-laws when they come, stay down the hill in another house. There's a big in-ground pool separating the two houses. The children aren't allowed in their house, and they barely see the kids, just come down for an hour around bedtime, and not even every night. The oldest kid was 7. I had to read this twice because at first I thought the in-laws weren't coming to the main house to see the kids, but you're saying the parents have their children living in a separate house and don't really visit them? Why would you even have kids? Yup. And the mom fucks off to Europe or whatever for months. The dad is a freaking psychopath and treats the oldest like garbage, because it's his step-kid. There's another older kid who lives in the mom's home country with one of the grandparents, then the other grandparent stays in the house with the nanny and kids, and then they switch every so often. It's so freaking bizarre. That's literally illegal in my state. I feel like it should be illegal in New York too. He's a total freak and I have so many more stories about him. I really dislike this man, and I blame him for my aunt's death several years back due to overworking. She was the nanny in this situation. I used to work with kids at risk almost 10 years ago. A few of them follow me on social media years after I quit, and one day a girl called me from the hospital. She told me she tried to commit. Had been raped and abused. I talked to her for an hour or so while my ex waited for the conversation to end and we can go eat. I was heartbroken because I love her and her family and was really upset about all the challenges they had gone through. After the call ended, I was pretty beat up and was talking to my ex, who then snapped at me saying I was selfish for being sad over her circumstances. I was being a bad person. Making it all about me? He said I was depleting his energy and stormed out of the room. Why I stayed in that relationship for months after, I'll never know. Honestly, screw that guy. When my next door neighbor, after a day of literally shrieking and howling and breaking things in her apartment, opened her back door and yeeted her pet duck into the yard. She then spent the next solid hour chasing it, while shrieking and howling at it. Poor duck. When the duck asks if you have any grapes one too many times. I had an acquaintance that my husband and I call single white female because she would copying everything I did. I dyed my hair green, she dyed her hair green. I shaved me head, she shaved her head. I got a dog, so she got a dog despite being a self-described dog hater. My husband proposed, she proposed to her husband the next week, specifically after telling me she was jealous I got engaged. She ghosted her sister and told me I was the only family she needed, and so I blocked her because I definitely felt like she was going to steal my life. Did you shave your head just to see if she would too? The second time I did it, yes, absolutely. I am not ashamed to admit it. And yes, she did it again. It's a long story that resulted in me going to the police twice to say I'm being stalked. He made a bunch of new numbers and has sent hundreds of emotionally manipulative and downright terrifying texts. He's trying to tell people I'm making things up. I haven't deleted any messages, and still periodically reaches out to see if we can make things work. We were never an item. He's angry and keeping his distance right now, but when the other shoe drops, I'm concerned I'll just be another statistic. I recently learned he has a history of violence with others. The red flag was when I was telling him how the nerve pain from a couple botched reconstructive surgeries made me too tired to even text, and he told me I wasn't considering his feelings enough. Bro, I need to talk to lawyers. I'm so wrecked. Why should I sacrifice my mental and physical health because you don't know how to be alone? So I don't leave the house much. I can't stomach food, and sleep is a blessed but brief reprieve from waiting. He genuinely thinks he's the victim and I am a thing to make him feel good about himself. He's a really tall, scary dude and I'm too tired to fight. It's fucking terrifying. I'm so sorry. Have you contacted a domestic violence hotline? They might be able to help you move without being traced. My mother did on my behalf, and she was walked through the process of me getting a restraining order. It was very different than the process the officers and detective told me about. I'm going to start with that, and if he violates the order then I'll go all scorched earth and just flee the fucking country. I've been on edge since early August when this all began. Thank you so much for your compassionate and helpful reply. That sucks so much, and I bet the police do absolutely nothing. I went on a single date about 5 years ago that lasted about 30 minutes because the guy was being a total weirdo. He then spent 6 months sending threatening texts and voicemails every single day, hundreds of them. Every time I blocked a number he'd spoof a new one and keep going. He eventually escalated to threatening to kill me, and I'm 99% sure he slashed 2 of my tires. Cops did absolutely nothing. Eventually he stopped, but about every 6 months I'll get a random threatening text about how I'm a fake man-hating bitch and I deserve to die. I can't change my phone number because it's attached to my business and I've had it for more than 15 years. It's fucking awful and put me off dating almost entirely. I hope you find a solution to your problem, because I certainly don't have one for mine. When anyone on my in-law side thinks that my brother-in-law, who is a child rapist, should be around children or women and defends him when I speak out, I would just say my brother-in-law, but I have too many reasons to list why he is a psycho. I'm really hoping your spouse is on your side here. Most definitely. Went through this, somewhat similar, scenario last year with my stepsister's new boyfriend. My parents and her knew that he was a serial rapist and had spent more than 10 years in prison for it and kept it all a secret. When it all came out, they all completely defended him and kept supporting him. Just delusional. When I taught 6th grade, during the first week a kid broke one of my coffee mugs, cut their hands, and then proceeded to wipe blood all over my classroom. Perhaps the scariest part was the other kids in the class seemed unfazed as I escorted them out of the room while admin tried to stop him. He's about 18 now, and I hope he's okay and got help. This one is tamer than some on the thread already, but here you go. I had a roommate/friend who got too comfortable around me and showed her true colors. Some background: She was not an only child but was absolutely the favorite. They all treated her little sister like shit, which should have been my first clue to duck out of the friendship. Her parents lived like half an hour from campus and she went home all the time because they treated her like a princess. So one day we're at our place on a weekend morning and she's talking to me and everything is fine. She sounds normal until she picks up her phone to call her dad and she fakes this pathetic hoarse voice asking him if she can come home so he can make her pancakes because she's sick. Cough cough. And wouldn't you know, once she gets off the phone she's miraculously made a recovery. Then off she went to pretend to be sick for the rest of the day so her parents could dote on her. If she's manipulating the people who love her the most just cause she's bored, what games is she playing with me? I noped out of that friendship real quick. Friend's sister was having an affair with a married guy. When she found out he wasn't going to leave his wife for her she got drunk, drove to his house where his wife was, beeped her car horn for ages until he and wife came out, and started trying to fight his wife, not him, his wife. His wife being in her 60s and she being 30 by the way. Had an inkling she wasn't a great person but finding out about the affair and this was a big, yeah, you're right, something ain't right, moment. She was probably counting on him being her meal ticket. As far as she was concerned, that old lady stole her cushy life from her. Heh. Not really. She has a pretty great job herself and he's known around the village as being a lazy asshole. Probably more of an egotistical thing honestly. I can take men from wives, sort of shit. I had a girl roommate that made me think that lol. I, female, lived in a condo with 2 other girls. When she and the other girl first moved in, like within the first month sometime, we were all eating dinner together and were talking about funny/psycho Tinder dates we had and would show who they were, etc. I was telling one about a guy that was fucking crazy, obsessed with me, stalked me for 6 months, and literally how he made me feel so unsafe and would show up to my house. The next week I leave for a week to Boston, and come home from the airport and walk into my house to see the guy who is my psycho Tinder date story sitting on my couch in pajamas with my fucking roommate. I remember my stomach dropped out of like fear. Like, what the actual fuck are you doing in my house? Turns out when I left to Boston, one of my psycho ass roommates found this fucker on fucking Facebook and hit him up to come over. My roommate and I are Gen, so hitting up someone on Facebook as a Gen Z in 2022 is weird as fuck. Turns out my psycho ass roommate was fucking my psychopath stalker Tinder date at my house. He stayed for the whole week I was gone. Like, what the fuck was wrong with my roommate? She heard me tell that fucking story? Fucked up in the fucking brain. I remember thinking like, what are you going to do next motherfucker? Collect my hair and make a wig out of it? I was so uneasy, and was stuck with this whack-ass girl as a roommate for a whole goddamn year. Motherfucking psychopath. She was jealous of you and threatened by you. She thought that having an obsessed stalker validated your worth/attractiveness, and as a way of showing that she too is worthy of that unhinged attention, tried to get him to stalk her as well. I've seen this plenty of times. Those girls are fucking stupid. When she started sending me pictures of her new boyfriend, half naked. Then showed up at my work to tell me how he felt about me based on what she told him. I'm so glad I ran far and fast from that one. Steal the boyfriend. Nah, he was one of the older dudes out on the Air Force Base. 23 or 24, and had a thing for girls fresh out of high school. Ouch, bullet dodged. Yeah. I don't know what happened, but she turned into a wreck for a couple years. Hopefully she's doing better now. Father-in-law told his daughter 3 Christmases ago he hasn't talked to her in 2 years because she didn't say hi, one time she went to visit, and that he holds grudges because that's just how he is. Yeah, total narcissistic fuck job ever. Ah, my stepmother. One day I came in the house and didn't greet her fast enough as she waited for me too. This was a rule for just me out of the siblings. She spent the next year not speaking to me and banned me from any room she was in. Oh, and I was talking to my boyfriend on the landline one evening. She picked up the phone and said she needed to make a call. I said sure, 1 second. I get off the call with my boyfriend in 10 seconds. The next day she shut off the phone service and we lived without a phone. This was pre-cell phones, for a year. My dad had to drive to his work after work to use a phone. All because I was snotty on the phone to her, and refused to hang up, as she told my father. He's just as bad, but she was special. It's like 25 years later and I'm still not allowed in my father's home as she's there. He has to sneak out to visit me, which I'm not particularly interested in anyway. Recently had a housemate who started going on about how COVID was a whole conspiracy for governments to keep track of everyone and somehow control them. He was telling me how he watched some video that showed someone looking at a drop of their blood under a microscope, then putting a small amount of vaccine into it and suddenly seeing the blood cells rearrange themselves to form nanomachines, which then started transmitting Bluetooth signals, and this is how they are tracking you. To test my theory of his insanity, I then asked him if he thought the world was flat. Fast forward another half hour of ranting about NASA conspiracies, and safe to say he is not my housemate anymore. An old boss of mine during a lunch meeting flirted with the waitress and pressed her for her number. She was clearly uncomfortable, but my boss was a regular and tipped well, so she gave him a number. After she walked away, my boss bragged about how he's a major ladies' man, and could sleep with any woman he wants given the chance to swoon them. He continued that conversation in detail for about 20 minutes before finally saying, "I'm stressing all of this to you, my name, because I want you to understand how easy it would be for me to take your girl if you ever cross me." He then began to tear up and with a small sob said, "Please, don't make me wreck your life, man." That's the day I started searching for new jobs. Edit, to clarify, this wasn't a manager. He was the owner of the company and the lunch was his gift to me for being promoted to management. Additional edit, since folks have been asking for more context for the day, here's a bit more. 1. The day was supposed to start at 9 a.m. together and the boss asked me to meet him at his place so we could drive together while we talked about the new position. Instead, I arrived at his place and he was still sleeping because he was drinking all night. He let me in his place at about 9:30 and all you could see were bottles on the floor and several half-drank bottles on the nightstand next to his bed. His kitchen table had no food on it but a lot of weed and white substance lingering on the table. 2. We drove to downtown city where we'd have lunch, but on the way he would stop us at almost every clothing shop. These shops were all very expensive and he'd try out a couple blazers, dress coats, etc., at each location. He would then ask them to hold the outfits for him to purchase later that week but didn't actually buy anything. This went on till lunchtime. 3. Lunch starts and my original post happens. After the food arrives, he tries to ask the waitress multiple times to quit her job and come work for him. After a couple of failed attempts we finally talked business and we got into it. 4. After lunch, he asked me to join him visiting his branch where I met his workers. Everyone was nice and nothing crazy happened here. 5. After this we briefly made a stop at his parents' home where he asked me to meet them. Both his parents are therapists and seem like nice folks and completely ignorant of their son's narcissistic tendencies. 6. We go meet with a few clients right after this where he turns on the charisma and swoons all of them to purchase solar panels and such. After this, before he drops me off at my car we talked casual for a bit and he really started pushing to know personal information about me. I gave him basic information but declined to let him know anything more. He then reiterated that he can either be my best friend and will get along or he will do everything in his power to make my life miserable if I ever cross him in any way. Is this some comedy sketch? Oh man, I only told y'all about lunch itself. This was a work day and I had spent the better part of 8 hours with just him that day. So this is literally the middle of the day and by far not the only weird thing that happened. You need to find out what drugs your boss is on, and blackmail him into sharing. Funny enough, that's another story. About 4 months after this happened and the business went under, he skipped town because of all the money he owed people, workers, friends, family, etc. A buddy of mine who was still working there at the time, and second in command, went to the boss's apartment to try and find him. Boss was gone, but looking in the windows you couldn't even see the floor because there was so many bottles on the floor and on a table near the front door you could obviously see weed and a white substance still on the table. What company? DM me please, I'm so curious. I don't need to DM it, the company has gone under. It was called Texas Sun Pros. The website used to be txsunpros.com but it's long gone now. Love this so much. Any update on this guy? His business went under, he owes a lot of people, including myself, a lot of money, he's got multiple lawsuits against him for falsely advertising his products, solar, and I believe a warrant out for his arrest. This all happened about 2 years ago, and the last update I got was from the Labor Department.